Computer. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I am your host for today. I am actually a psychotherapist, and I deal with marriage counseling. I deal with dissociative identity disorders, anger management, and the list goes on and on. So if anyone has any issue, you know where to call. Today, I'm very, very happy because we have on our show the Canadian Anthony Robbins. And he's going to be able to share his own version of what happiness means to him, the different challenges that he faced in life, and so on and so forth. He also wrote a book called The Success Left Clue, and he will share about where you could actually purchase this book, and also what are the challenges that he faced while writing this book and all the other things that he had to follow through. So, Robert, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
Dan, I'm happy. I'm having a good day and I'm ready to help spread happiness around. So I'm doing awesome.
Excellent. So tell me in your own words, first of all, a little bit of history about yourself. What brought you? I know that you told me about you doing a lot of seminars about happiness, seminars about, training people, training like how to, for self-confidence and so on and so forth. So tell me a little bit about, about you and about your history.
Yeah, where I grew up, which is back to where I live now, central Alberta, most of my life here in Canada, a very kind of closed-minded, here's the box, don't think outside the box, don't question the box. And when you come to work, it doesn't matter what's going on in your day. The moment you walk through that door, you leave all your problems behind you, you be there and do what you need to do, even if you hate the job. And that's the way I lived my life. And that's why I entered the workforce. And also, you'll work hard, stay loyal. That's what I did. Now, at the age of 21, I'm laid off from my third major company because they're closing down. And I'm like, okay, I'm working hard. I'm staying loyal. What's going on here? And here in Alberta, when oil prices are up, we do well. Our economy does well. When oil prices are down, they don't do well. And in 1990, I'm laid off from that third company. I'm 21 years old and we're in the middle of an oil bust. I can't find a real job, but I've taught you do what you need to do to support your family. I'm a newlywed. I start delivering pizzas for Domino's Pizza. And I actually got the nickname of Mr. Happy because I would come in the store, I'd leave the problems at the door and I'd be there because, Dan, one grumpy person can impact the rest of the staff very quickly. So I would make it my journey that if someone was not in a good mood or having a tough day, I wouldn't bug them, but I would want to talk to them. How are you doing? What's going on? How can I help you have a better day? And it got to the point that the moment I'd walk in the door to work, you'd hear, Robert's here, everybody be happy. And you'd really just sense the whole energy in the room change. And it made because when you're making during a dinner rush, 100 or more pizzas per hour from scratch, it can get very stressful. So having everybody in a great mood helps with that, helps with the flow. Went on from being a driver to being a manager. My wife became my assistant. We started working open and close 7 days a week because we know how to work hard. And from there, we actually had the opportunity a year and a half later to become franchisees. But there's one problem. We didn't have any money. We were qualified and we wanted to buy the store we were working in, but we didn't have money. But one thing we do have, Dan, is we have passion. And it took us about 4 months of making a lot of mistakes. But every mistake we made, we learned from it and we'd adjust and we'd go again. And all of a sudden we were able to not buy the store we were working in. We actually bought both the stores my franchisee had for sale. And we did it with 100% financing from the bank and we became franchisees. And it was like, oh, we've got it made. We're now successful. But we fell into the trap of trying to keep up with the Joneses. And at 8-year mark, we're over $150,000 in personal debt, struggling, stressed out beyond belief. And that's when we were introduced to personal development. We went to a 3-day training that taught us why we're in debt, to take ownership of our debt instead of blaming other people, and gave us some specific actions we could do to get out of it. And because we put those into place, we ended up going from $150,000 in personal debt to actually being retired, completely financially free 9 months later at the age of 32. And when it was like, yeah, that's what my mind went was, wow. And it's like, if that much information gave us this result, what would more do? And that's when I started my lifelong journey of just learning from every master I could, found my passion was to really, if I could help one person do what we did, go from financial struggle to financial relief, it'd make it all worthwhile. And for the last 18 and a half years, that's what I've done around the world. And I've personally taught over 500,000 students in multi-day trainings. And that's kind of the long, short journey.
Wow. Yeah, long short. This is kind of like an interesting concept. But what would you say was the most difficult part from your transition to be a business owner or pizza delivery or like a manager to teaching people how to get out of debt? I mean, obviously you did it yourself, so you practice what you preach, which is excellent.
Yep.
But then isn't every case different? How can your teaching be universal and be able to apply with every case is possible?
Well, see, when we only taught in Canada, because the training originally originated here, and then we went into the US. And when we were about to go to Asia, our minds were like, oh my goodness, will this work for other people? And the first time we did it in Asia was 2007. We had 6,000 students in the audience for 3 intensive days in Singapore. And within the first 2 hours, we realized everybody in the world is messed up as we are here in North America. And it all comes down to the same programming, the same negative thought patterns in the mind. And so universally, the reason I can teach I've had audiences, Dan, where I've had 6 different languages being translated simultaneous. Now, one thing I learned is my Canadian jokes are bad anyway, but a lot of times they just don't translate.
No, they don't. They don't.
Right.
When you
so I had to, I used a trick that a friend of mine, another trainer, taught me. He said, Robert, tell your translators, if they don't understand your joke, instead of trying to translate it or just stop talking, tell them to translate through the microphone or to the headsets. The trainer just told a joke, laugh, please. The moment I started doing that, as soon as I get a bigger laugh, I knew that's what they'd say. And I played with it. So we all have the same negative thoughts. And the reason it's universal is because I can help people understand where those thoughts came from. So awareness, identify. So it's, first thing is awareness. You can't change something if you don't know there's something that needs to be changed. Then the second step is having understanding. Why do you have that negative belief? Why do you have that way of thinking? And then from there, we can do the reconditioning. We can help people actually make the change. So it doesn't matter where you grew up. It doesn't matter what your upbringing is. It doesn't matter how you're influenced. We all have crap in our heads. Mm-hmm. And if we can help you identify it, then understand it, and then choose, does it work for me or not? And if you choose, no, it's not working for me, then we help you change it. That's where we can help pretty much anybody around the globe understand and move forward.
Interesting. And does culture have something to do with what you teach? Because every culture has different, I would say, relationship with money. And that may, like you said, the Asian culture, I'm not sure exactly how they think about money, but what they consider debt to be. Canada or North America, we all have the same mentality. But what may work in North America may not work in Asia or other countries. So how do you adapt to that?
Well, first of all, understanding the culture a little bit. But really the biggest secret is not trying to change it for everybody, because a negative belief is a negative belief.
Correct.
And so as an example, if I'm in Asia and I'm in Singapore, if I'm trying to change things for them, that's when we struggle helping them change. But if we say, let's identify your negative belief, whatever it is, because here's the thing, a belief is a belief.
Correct.
Doesn't matter whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong. None of those exist. It's either does it support you or does it not? And if it supports you, great, let's enhance it. So our techniques, our technologies help you do that. If it doesn't support you, great, let's help you change it. Our techniques support making the change. So the cultural changes don't make a difference. Again, that's why I can have multiple cultures in my audience and everybody gets their results. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Prior to this podcast, you told me about some of the injuries that you faced in the past when you were younger, and I know that when people are physically limited to what they can accomplish on a daily basis, that brings depression, anxiety, and a lot more other issues, mental illnesses. How did you overcome that, and what really happened when you had those injuries?
Well, first of all, one of the ways I overcame it answers something you had said earlier in the interview as well. How do I keep moving forward? I quit trying to do it on my own. And so many of us are taught, figure it out on your own, do it on your own, don't ask for help. That vulnerability is a weakness. But if people understand that vulnerability is actually a strength, then so every time okay, one of my injuries, I overlived my passion. I started training. I was training so much. I was only at home on average 2 days a month. I was doing multi-day trainings all over North America and then over to the Asia and then the world. And all of a sudden, with all the flying I was doing, plus not standing properly on stage, I'm on stage up to 12 or more hours a day. And I was putting a lot of my weight on my right leg. So I twisted my hips, and mixed with the flying, I herniated a disc. And I went through 2 back surgeries and ended up taking 3.5 years off because I was A, burnt out, and B, going through back surgeries and recovery. And so one of the ways I was able to get through it is because I have growth-minded people around me. And there's a difference. A lot of people have heard, Dan, that it's great to surround yourself with like-minded people. And I used to believe that until last year, until a mentor of mine gave me a paradigm shift. He said, think about this. If you surround yourself with like-minded people and the people around you are complainers, you're going to be a complainer because you're of like mind. Yes. He said, the difference between a growth-minded person is a growth-minded person, they will be there to pick you up when you fall. So I was having my back surgeries and laid up in bed for weeks on end because I couldn't move. The growth-minded people were there to support me, to talk to me, come visit me, help me keep a great mental state, right? Talk on the phone, be on, just communicating. They're also the people that will cheer you on as your greatest cheering squad when you're doing well. But one of the most important roles a growth-minded person plays, is they are also the ones willing to have the tough conversations with you when needed. Like as an example, my wife is probably the greatest cheerleader for me. And she's also the one, I will admit, I would not be doing what I do today if it wasn't for her, because she's not willing. She's not willing to let me play smaller than I am, even when I resist. And so that meant when I was having my back surgeries, there's days where she would kick me in the ass figuratively and say, quit playing the victim. You're going through this for a reason and you can come out the other end, but it's going to depend on how you play it out. And so that's a gift she gives me, and I give that to her now. As an example, actually a month ago now, my wife went through an unexpected surgery. And rule number 1 is, because they had to, do a huge incision in her stomach to remove an infection, is they need that infection or that incision to heal from the inside out, which means stay still, don't do anything. And my wife, that drives her crazy, not doing stuff. And so I had to be that voice of stop, get back in bed, especially in the first couple of weeks when I was really trying to heal, and you're doing nothing. But I know there's stuff to do. Stop. So I had to be that person to basically call her out and say, no, you're going to heal, but it's your choice on how quickly you heal.
That's correct. Exactly. Well, at least you encourage each other. And this is what real marriage is all about. You see, the thing is that what I've noticed in my practice, Robert, is that it's all about one way, which means that, okay, you help me, but when shit hits the fan, I disappear, kind of thing. They only want to be there during the good times. And like you said, your supporters, even though they knew that you were not able to be on stage and perform, etc., they still wanted to hear from you. How are you doing, Robert? What can I do to help you? We need support. We need this. We need that.
And that is where you find your true friends. You figure out who they are, because there were people that all of a sudden they were gone because I wasn't making them now thousands and millions of dollars. It was like, never heard from them. Yes. And some people, when I said I'm taking a year off, because that's what it started off with, I said I need a break. All of a sudden, some people, Robert, now that you have time, we need to do this together. No, I'm taking a year off, but we'll make a lot of money together. Obviously, you're not listening to me. And my true friends were the ones that honored that space. They were there. Okay, what can I do to support you without you coming out of retirement? And let's just keep our relationship and our friendship. It's so telling at that point, is you really identify those tough times when you see who your true friends are.
Absolutely. And your book, Success Left a Clue. Did you during the time that you were in bed, or during the time that you were injured, or was it during the time that you were traveling the world to be able to share your teachings?
Well, it was actually a 15-year journey of writing.
Wow. Okay.
I call it my procrastination right, because I am a world-class professional procrastinator, and I've learned skills to assist with that because, first of all, instead of beating myself up that I'm a procrastinator, I own it. But one of my quotes that I love is, I design my day in such a way that procrastination cannot play. How many people beat themselves up over what they call a deficiency in their life? Yes. And then they get so hard on themselves. For me, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I know I'm a procrastinator. And there's times I'm going to let that play, but there's times I'm going to design things so that it doesn't have a chance. And so my book majorly got going. I conceptualized it in 2002. During my hiatus, a friend of mine kicked me out in the ass, said, you've been saying you're going to write a book for years, write it now. And so while I was laid up, I started thinking about it, but it became that I'd open my computer, I'd go to write. And I don't know if you've ever experienced, Dan, you know what you want to say, but by the time you can think of even putting it down, it's gone. And I'd get frustrated. Yeah.
I know. I have had the writer's block. And then, you want to get out of the area to be able to refresh your mind and then come back. Yeah. It's very, very complicated.
And I did that for a couple of years of every 2 weeks trying to do it. And then I went, Robert, you don't know. And I have a lot of conversations with myself, and that's okay. I have no problem with talking with yourself, even having fun. But the moment you go on Facebook and you do a poll to figure out which part of your conversation is right, then that might be taken a little excessively. Just say it. But I had the conversation with myself, and I was like, Robert, no wonder you're struggling. You don't know how to write a book. You've never written one before. What do you know how to do? And I tapped into my strengths. I know how to write a program, a training. So in 2 hours, I wrote a training based on my book, and I went and did a 1 day of it twice for a friend who has a training company. He started as a student. And I went and I said, can I come down and train? He's like, I've been waiting for you to ask, please. So twice I went down that. Now I'm in the flow. I'm saying what I want to say. And we recorded it all, sent that to my ghostwriter. Within 2 weeks, she had turned it into a book. Now it still sat on the shelf, the full manuscript, for about 5 years, because something didn't feel right to release it at that time. I came out of retirement and training around the world. 2017, I made the decision. And the moment I did, I pulled the manuscript out, and thank goodness I did, because I actually rewrote half the book, because I had, in those 5 years, I'd learned more and I'd even changed more. And now I just went through and I quickly changed it, and we released it in 2017. So, yeah.
Is there going to be a second edition or third edition of this book because you're teaching new things, or are you going to stick with another topic?
Yeah, actually right now I'm writing my second book. And this one is called The Authority Key: How to Unlock and Open Your Doors to Success. And it's all about, it's a kind of a version of Success Left a Clue, because I would like to work on the inner side of people. So in The Authority Key, I'm going to teach them the practical skills on how to be seen as an authority in any arena. But I'm going to work really on who are you? Who are you to be able to handle the success that being an authority will bring, so that it's long-term? Because we know getting success and creating wealth in your life is one thing. Keeping it, totally different. So we're going to work on that part. So
the motto, fake it till you make it. Do you talk about it in your books?
A little bit, because I'm a back and forth on that one.
Okay.
It's, you take action. I'd rather you have sloppy success than perfect mediocrity, because most people never get beginning. But the reason I don't like to fake it till you make it is be authentic. Tell people where you're at. Let them know, look, I'm doing this, and here's where I'm at the moment. So if that works for you, I'm going to give you a great deal to work with me. But if it doesn't work with you, for you right now, that's okay. As I get better, I'll keep back in touch with you. So be authentic of where you're at. Don't try to be more than you are by trying to pretend to people that you are.
That's a beautiful response, Robert. Now, if you want to say, or if let's say someone comes to you and asks you for an advice about, Robert, if you could sum it up in terms of the happiness journey, in terms of what will make me happy, what would you tell this student? What would you tell them, or kind of an advice to be able to move forward from there?
My advice to people is, I believe, and this is just my belief, the greatest gift that anybody can give the world is to be themselves. And that when you're yourself, either people are going to like you or they won't. And if they like you, that's awesome. If they don't, that's awesome. It's awesome. Because how much time do we waste trying to change ourselves to get people to like us? And if someone doesn't like us for who we are, and this was a hard learning for me, people pleaser, is I opened up the space when I started wasting my time trying to be someone else to please people. And I just said, here's who I am. I'm always amazed now, Dan, at who's attracted to my energy. And I have more energy for them because being me, I can be happy. I'm not trying to figure out, did I do it right? Did I please that person? And I piss off people and I have no control over that because that has nothing to do with me. Now, if I make a mistake, I apologize quickly. And I've made mistakes all over the world. I apologize authentically and quickly, and I learn from it. But I can only be me. So that would be my advice. Just be you. Greatest gift you can give the world.
But most people, what they don't like you, Robert, is because they're jealous. They're jealous of your success. They're jealous of everything that you have accomplished in your life, and they feel, why him and not me? Again, it's pointing at everybody else about and never taking responsibility of your own life. And this is what a lot of people have trouble with. So yes, kudos to you. So tell me, where can you find your book?
Well, Dr. Dan, you were so gracious to have me on as a guest to your show. So as a gift to all your listeners for taking their valuable time, because I believe our time is one of our most precious commodities. Sure. If they simply go to robertriopel.com, just my name, robertriopel.com, they're actually going to be able to download the entire digital copy of my book, Success Left a Clue, as our gift to them. Now, I will let you know this comes with a caveat, though.
Okay.
I did not write this book for people to read it, put it on the shelf, and make it shelf help. That's not why I wrote it. Step number 3 in this book is take action. Of all my travels around the world, the biggest difference between success and none is successful people take action. So I wrote it as a workbook, and all the way through, there's action steps in the book that I want you to take. And I even write in there, I say, did you do the last step? If not, stop reading right now, go back, do it before you read any more. And I promise you, if people actually download the book and then read it, now start reading it within the first 48 hours of downloading it, because research has proven that if you buy a book or get a book and don't start reading with 48 hours, you won't, because we're creatures of habit. So I promise, if you read the book and you do the actions, you will see your life a much happier life, and you'll see it go into a direction that you may never have even dreamed of.
Beautiful. And to conclude, I'm going to ask you about the laws of attraction. And I'm sure that this is something that you truly believe in. You've read the book, The Secret from Rhonda Byrne. She says that thought become things. But what I felt after I read the book is that she didn't provide all the information or the in-between thoughts and things. So we're talking about belief and action. This is what I truly believe, or the element that comes in between your thought process and the things that can happen in your life. And people feel that, okay, I'm going to sit on my butt watching Netflix and I'm going to wait for that Lamborghini to appear in my garage. That's not going to happen. But if you believe in yourself, you believe that you could accomplish anything in life, and you put the action behind your belief, the thoughts will become the things.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I knock it down into 3 stages of why people don't attract what they truly want in their life. First of all, is you have to have non-attachment. When think of it like a baby being grown in the belly, when it comes out, there's that umbilical cord that attaches the baby to the mom. What does the doctor do? They cut it. But we are attached. It's got to happen this amount of time. It's got to look like this. It's got to be done this way, or it's not what I wanted. So you've got to let that attachment go. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, you've got to give it space. Even if we live to 120 years old, we're still just a blip in the universal timeline. Yeah. And so we have no control over the timing. So you've got to give it space, which is the magic to allow it. And in this space, you move towards it because your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, the vibrations have to be in alignment. You move towards what you want, take those actions. And so you give it space to create the magic. And then the third step is be open to how it comes back to you. Because remember what I said, we have that attachment, what it's got to look like. And I love the Garth Brooks song that says, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. How many times have we thought we wanted this, but when it actually came back to us in a different form, it was like, thank goodness it happened that way. This is even more of what I wanted. And I'll give a quick example of that. The third job I was working for when I was 21 that I got laid off from, I had been hired into a factory at the age of 18 when the factory opened. And I started in the factory doing quality control. This company had factories all over North America. And my goal was for 40 years, I was going to work for these guys. I'd become my own general manager. And I started working. I went from in the factory to helping run the shipping and receiving department to also being inside sales. So I was now lower management. So imagine my surprise when the general manager calls me into his office on a Monday morning and says, oh, by the way, we're shutting the factory down. You were laid off as of last Friday. And I was pissed because my dream was gone. And I'm like, how dare you? What, because that was my dream. I was going to be my own general manager. But if I had not been laid off, I would not have started driving for Domino's, would not have become a manager, would not have become a franchisee, would not have gone $150,000 in debt, which led me to the necessity of personal development, which allowed to create financial freedom, which allowed me to find my true passion, which allowed me to travel the world and impact life. Today, I look back and I go, thank you for laying me off.
Yes.
But I didn't see it then. So you've really got to be open to how it comes back to you.
That is really beautiful. I mean, I would like to first thank you, Robert, for coming to the show today. And I mean, your insight, your output is just amazing. And I'm sure that all the listeners are going to really take advantage of your free download. It's Robert Riope, RIOPEL.com. And this is where you can actually download The Success Left a Clue. And when is your second book going to come out?
We're looking to have it come out the first quarter of 2022. And yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Are you going to upload it directly to your website as well?
Yeah, we're going to have it on Amazon. We're going to do a big launch. We'll have it all over the place. And, because Success Left a Clue is an international bestseller. And not that I'm competitive, but I'd like the authority key to go even another step up.
Beautiful. Well, again, Robert, thank you so much. Your input are just amazing. And I really, really appreciate all the time that you've taken today to be able to, help us out.
My pleasure.